Hey there, it's V from Movies Hunter, and I'm here to shed some light on a film that will have you laughing, crying, and possibly questioning your own religious beliefs. That's right, I'm talking about the 2019 comedy drama Yes God Yes. Let's get into it. At the beginning of the film, we see Alice, say hi, a rebellious teenager who is stuck in a hellhole of a school, a strict, Midwestern co-ed Catholic high school, where the students are more likely to get fined for breathing than for not wearing a belt, or for wearing a skirt that is a couple of centimeters shorter than normal. In the morality class, Father Murphy, who's probably never even had a real conversation with a girl, teaches the students about sexuality. He preaches that one can only mate after marriage and it should only be with someone of the opposite sex. Otherwise, your soul will be damned for eternity, because clearly God only wants boring straight people in heaven. No offense. And let's not forget, God is watching. Always watching. After class, Alice's best friend Laura saunters over to her with a grin and declares she is tired of playing with the rules. Alice, being the goody two-shoes she is, scoffs and asks Laura if she knew that pleasuring your own palace is a sin. Laura, rolling her eyes, retorts that watching the car scene in Titanic on repeat is also a sin. Alice, caught in her own hypocrisy, defends herself by claiming she is just curious. Later, as Alice returns home to her strict Catholic household, she can't help but feel a little lonely. So she logs on to her AOL because Facebook did not exist back there in order to pass the time. Suddenly, she receives an email from a stranger who proceeds to send her some interesting pictures of him and his wife in the act. Alice, shocked and curious, can't help but take a peek. And just as she's about to close the email, a message pops up from the stranger asking for her name, age, and location, basically ASL. Alice, feeling a little mischievous, decides to fib a little, and then the man asks for her picture. After much contemplation, Alice decides to send her friend's picture to a complete stranger. And what does the stranger suggest? Virtual mating. Oh, of course, because that's a totally normal thing to suggest to a stranger. Anyway, Alice, being the adventurous soul she is, decides to play along and starts massaging her palace. But just as things were getting good, she hears her mom calling and quickly scrambles to shut the computer. Fast forward to Monday at school, and a girl named Beth approaches Alice with some juicy gossip. Apparently, there's a rumor going around that Alice tossed someone's salad at Laura's party over the weekend. Alice, confused and mortified, denies any such behavior, as she's not even sure what the term tossing the salad means. Meanwhile, Laura is wondering why Beth didn't show up to her party. Beth, however, has a perfectly good excuse. She was at a Kirkos retreat run by the school and it changed her life. Yep, that's right, a retreat run by the school. Who needs college when you can go to a retreat run by the school? Anyway, Alice is left alone, licking chocolate off the wrapper and getting laughed at by the boys sitting nearby. Frustrated, she storms off. As she has no idea why they're laughing. On her way, Alice comes across Wade and his girlfriend Heather, who call her a disgusting salad tosser. The rumor of Alice's supposed escapade even reaches the ears of the school's resident holy roller, Mrs. Veda. She scolds Alice, telling her to respect her gift from God of a body. Alice, completely clueless as to what she's talking about, sheepishly agrees. Later on, in a desperate attempt to rid herself of her newfound sin, Alice confesses to Father Murphy, who gives her a measly 20 Hail Marys as penance. But as she is sitting in the school chapel completing her prayers, the words of Mrs. Veda and Father Murphy keep ringing in her head. Desperate for redemption, she decides to attend the school's Kirkos retreat, where she hopes to find her way back to righteousness. Meanwhile, Laura is also attending the retreat, but for entirely different reasons. She is determined to suck up to the popular senior, Nina, who just so happens to be a retreat leader. When they arrive at the retreat campground, Laura is ecstatic to find out that Nina is indeed one of the leaders, while Alice sets her sight on Chris, a hunky senior and fellow leader. Nina, ever the queen bee, takes Alice under her wing and assigns her to stay in her cabin. Alice rolls her eyes as Nina asks for her phone and watch, muttering under her breath, "Sure, because the lack of social media is really going to improve my life experience." She reluctantly hands over her watch, but slyly tucks her phone away in her bag, thinking, "I may have signed up for this retreat, but I didn't sign up to be disconnected from the real world." As she joins the other students, she can't help but feel a flutter of excitement when she sees Chris is her group leader. "Maybe this retreat won't be so bad after all," she thinks to herself. Father Murphy starts the retreat by informing the students that they all must be here for a reason, that, God wanted them here or whatever. As he hands out papers for the students to circle their feelings, Alice circles "turned on" with a smirk, thinking of Chris. But as time runs out, she panics and tries to erase the circle, only to realize the pen won't budge. In a hurry, she scribbles over the word and turns in her paper. As the retreat goes on and Nina gives a heartfelt speech about finding acceptance, Alice can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. Why can't my problems be so simple? Why can't I just be accepted for who I am? But she keeps these thoughts to herself and puts on a smile, determined to make the most of this retreat. Later that night, as Alice tries to catch some Z's, she finds herself with a case of insomnia and decides to pass the time by playing on her phone. But in a moment of sheer brilliance, she realizes she can use the phone's silent mode to give herself a little me time with her trusty, vibrating feature. Just as things are getting good, she is interrupted by the sight of a crucifix hanging in her room and is forced to cut her self-love session short. The next day, while out for a hike, Alice sees an opportunity to get close to her crush, Chris, and takes a little stumble down the hill. Chris, being the gentleman that he is, carries her back to the cabin for some treatment. Later, Nina comes by and invites her for a group photo, but is suspicious when she hears a mysterious vibration noise coming from Alice's room. After the group photo, Father Murphy tells Alice that she is in trouble for hiding her phone and assigns her the task of cleaning the retreat house. While tidying up Father Murphy's office, Alice stumbles upon his computer and, thinking she's alone, logs onto an AOL chat room to ask the age-old question, what does tossing someone's salad mean? Just as she's about to find out, she hears footsteps approaching and quickly shuts off the computer and makes a hasty exit. On her way to the retreat, Alice stumbles upon the oh-so-charming Nina, who playfully accuses Alice of having an insatiable lust. Of course, Alice just can't shake off the pesky rumor, but the real fun begins on the third day when Father Murphy drops a bombshell and announces that he found some interesting chats on his computer, and oh my goodness, the irony. He asks for the guilty party to come forward, but surprise, surprise, no one owns up. Father Murphy warns the students that God is watching their every move. Fast forward to Father Murphy interviewing each student one by one, grilling them about their supposed temptations. And guess who's up next? None other than Alice herself. He starts asking her about her supposed feelings of being turned on, and oh boy, he doesn't stop there. He pushes and pushes for her to confess her supposed temptation with Wade. But alas, Alice insists that it's all just a rumor spread by her classmates. But with Father Murphy, the skeptic doesn't believe her insistence. Alice, fed up with the rumor, finally confronts Wade. She demands that he set the record straight and tells everyone that nothing happened between them, but surprise, surprise, Wade refuses to speak up and walks away without so much as admitting his mistake or apologizing. While tidying up the kitchen, Alice stumbles upon the sight of Nina getting hot and heavy with another senior leader in the woods. Instead of being disgusted, Alice is thrilled and decides to join in on the fun with a trusty broomstick. Later, she spills the beans to her friend Laura, but instead of believing her, Laura calls her a pervy psycho and ends their friendship. Fed up with being constantly dismissed, Alice decides to frame Wade for a previous break-in by planting his promise bracelet in Father Murphy's office. As she hides in her room, she catches Father Murphy in the act of pleasuring himself to an adult video saved on his computer. The whole experience makes Alice realize that everyone has their own dirty little secrets they hide from others. As she makes her exit, she comes across Chris and impulsively kisses him. But Chris is not amused and runs away. Later that night, as the group gathers around the bonfire, Alice can't help but feel like a total outcast. She's sick of all the rumors and lies swirling around her and decides to take a walk down the road. Eventually, she stumbles upon a dive bar where she meets Jenna, the owner. Jenna starts spilling her own secrets, confessing that she used to be a Catholic and was terrified of going to hell for things like cheating on her homework and eating too many gumdrops during Lent. Alice can relate and shares her own fears of eternal damnation for rewatching the steamy car scene in Titanic and virtual hooking up with strangers. Jenna tells Alice that everyone has their own dirty little secrets, and that she shouldn't feel so alone. After some wise words and a ride back to the retreat, Jenna even offers to help Alice explore colleges in the East and West Coasts for higher education. Before they part ways, Alice has one final question for Gina. What does tossing someone's salad mean? Jenna's response, girl, it means licking someone's anus. The next day, Alice makes a new friend and is feeling a bit more at ease. But just as she's getting comfortable, she sees Father Murphy pull Wade aside, revealing that he found Wade's bracelet on his office computer. And so, Wade, the big bad wolf of the retreat, is finally held accountable for his actions, or a lack thereof. Laura, in a moment of pure generosity and graciousness, apologizes to Alice for doubting her, and they hug it out like the true friends they are. But the real showstopper is when Father Murphy encourages students to share their deepest, darkest secrets from the retreat. Wade, being the stand-up guy he is, takes the opportunity to confess to sending that steamy chat message. But wait, there's a twist. He never actually sent it. Alice, not one to be outdone, decides to share her own experience and give the kids a little lesson in honesty and respect. She reminds everyone that everyone's got secrets and skeletons in the closet, and that's okay. But what's not okay is pretending to be someone you're not. Fast forward to the end of the retreat, and we see Alice scouring the internet for colleges on the West and East Coasts, just like her new bestie, Gina, suggested. And the cherry on top of this already delightful Sunday, a heart-to-heart with her one best friend, now just friend, Chris, assuring him that they can still be buds despite the awkwardness. Alice stumbles into Father Murphy's office looking like she's seen a ghost. "Father, I have something to confess," she says, her voice shaking. Father Murphy looks up from his adult video. Sure, what is it, my child?" "Well, during the retreat, I saw people, mating," Alice says with a smirk in her face. Father Murphy's mind races as he realizes that Alice saw him watching the video. Right, he says, trying to play it cool. Well, that's certainly not something you should be exposed to. I'm going to have to assign you some extra penance for that. 100 Hail Mary should do it. Alice's eyes widened. 100? That's a little harsh, don't you think? It's for your own spiritual growth, Father Murphy says, trying to sound wise. But instead of completing her penance, Alice goes home and pops in her DVD of Titanic. She watches the car scene over and over and over again, massaging her mating machine the whole time. And that, my friends, is the story of Yes, God, Yes. See you in the next one.